Welcome back to the 2019 Justin and Tyler Movie Awards, and we now move into the people section of the Movie Awards. The next three videos you are going to see comprise our Best Actors, Best Actresses, and Best Directors of 2019. We're kicking things off in this video with our Best Actors of 2019, and for this award, for those of you who have been with us for a few years, obviously, we each have 3 honorable mentions, and then we have a top 3 where we start from the bottom and go all the way up to number 1. So I'm going to kick off with my 3 honorable mentions for Best Actor of 2019. That is Christian Bale in Ford vs. Ferrari, Daniel Craig in Knives Out, and Zach Gottsagen in The Peanut Butter Falcon. Ford vs. Ferrari is a movie that's getting a ton of praise, and I think it's a movie that really lives and dies on its performances, and in particular the performance of Christian Bale. Like, I would have liked to have seen maybe a particular role get reversed, which is the roles of like Matt Damon and John Bernthal. I almost would have preferred those to be reversed just because I want John Bernthal to get more screen time. But Christian Bale as essentially the main character just absolutely commands every second that he's on screen in a movie that a lot of people are going to go to and be like, this is a movie all about cars. And it's like, nah, man, like, you got to go to Fast and Furious for that stuff. This is a movie very much about this one man, basically his journey to try and prove that that the American side, the Ford side, is the dominant side in the 24 Hours of Le Mans. And Christian Bale is just absolutely phenomenal in that role. Daniel Craig, I mean, a lot of people obviously will point to his Bond movies as arguably the best work that he's ever done, but I really, really dug the character that he was able to get into in Knives Out, and in a sea of really good performances by a really good cast. At the end of the movie, and I watched this movie twice in theaters, at the end of the movie both times, I was like, aside from Ana de Armas, Daniel Craig, I think, is the MVP of this movie, which is saying something, again, in a sea of really good performances. And Zach Gottsagen in The Peanut Butter Falcon, he is obviously an actor with Down syndrome, plays a boy with Down syndrome, and the fact that this was his first ever movie performance, and I have to assume, obviously, that's challenging, not only working with someone, like challenging for a director, not only working with someone with Down syndrome, but having that be that person's very first ever movie. I imagine that's a fairly, like a fairly big task for a director, but Zach, it was tremendous. Zach was like a natural, like it just felt so, it felt like you weren't watching a movie. When you saw, especially like in the moments that he's on screen, which he's on screen for the vast majority of the movie, it kind of felt like it wasn't a movie in a lot of spots, and just a real breakout performance for somebody that I hope we get to see more of, and I hope he doesn't get necessarily pigeonholed into playing the same type of character. Like, I think there's other territory that you can mine with an actor who has Down syndrome, so I kind of hope that they do wind up doing that. But Zach had a fantastic performance in Peanut Butter Falcon, and he winds up on the honorable list.
Throw him in the John Wick, Mr. Rogers action movie. That's all I could think of.
Starring Zach Gottsagen as John Wick.
Just do it! Throw him in!
I want to see it.
So I forgot to put him in my list, but he was in my list that before I compiled it. But he was really great.
Yeah.
So he deserves a lot of credit. Daniel Craig, I liked his performance. I don't see, like, performance of the year in that, but he was still good. And then whatever the other... Oh, Christian Bale.
Yeah.
Christian Bale's been one of my favorite actors for a while, and I considered him as well, but there's better performances. But Christian Bale is always awesome. Sometimes people forget that, I think.
Yeah, and somebody that is like feels like he's very method and dives into his roles so intensely that pretty well every time he's in a movie I'm just like, okay, well that aspect of it's going to be excellent.
Yeah, he'd been my boy for a long time. Okay, so here are my number 3. We got Eddie Murphy in Dolomite Is My Name. We got Brad Pitt in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. And we got a guy, I can't pronounce his last name, but it's Matthias
Schoenaerts.
Yeah, in The Mustang.
Yeah, he was on my list for most of the year.
So I saw Eddie Murphy's performance in Dolomite Is My Name be described as energetic and really the most energized he's looked in years, and I definitely agree with that. It was really fun watching him do that. Even though I didn't absolutely love the movie, I did love the performance. It was just a good time, and he's a big part of that. Brad Pitt is the only good thing about that movie. Oh, and I forgot that he was also in Ad Astra. Well, right, that's what kind of tipped him over. He had a good body of work this year because like he played a really charming character in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, which I wish we would have just seen him for an hour and a half. And then in Ad Astra, it was a little more subtle but emotional, kind of showing that, Brad Pitt is an amazing actor, that people forget that this dude can do a lot of stuff, but he's just so handsome and, he's Brad Pitt. He kind of suffers a little bit from that, like, Tom Cruise syndrome, where it's like people look at him and like, oh, just see Tom Cruise. It's like, well, yeah, that's because he was like one of the biggest movie stars in the world. It's hard not to, but he doesn't mean he's not a good actor, and that's like Brad Pitt. So Brad Pitt's body of work, and then in The Mustang, like, Matthias, I'm not going to try to pronounce his last name because I can't do it. Just a surprising performance because I don't really know who the guy is, but he managed to be that hardened criminal, but then also was really tender at the same time. And he just really dove into that role, and there was another movie that I quite enjoyed. I wouldn't say I loved it, but I did quite enjoy it. But his performance was really, really strong, and I think he's someone to pay attention to more. Like, I don't know how long he's been doing this or whatnot.
Yeah, I think it was the first time that I came across his name, and I mean he had a really good second in Bruce Dern to play off of in that movie, but his performance specifically was what really stood out.
Yeah, I bought every second of him.
Absolutely,
which was pretty impressive to play that hardened criminal, like I said, and then actually kind of be tender and all that. So that was really good. He was really good.
He was really good. So moving from the honorables into now our top 3. My number 3 best actor of 2019 is Brad Pitt.
Yay! For
Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, as well as Ad Astra. For me, it is a little more about Ad Astra for this one, just because like I genuinely loved that movie, and basically almost everything. Well, I mean, we're probably going to be talking about Ad Astra later, but specifically Brad Pitt. And in that movie, this is a body of work award, but in Ad Astra, he had so many moments of internal monologue, right? And it can be really difficult for an actor that is not a basically master of their craft to have this sort of internal monologue, but at the same time be evocative in facial expression and body language. And you have to be a very well-rounded, complete performer to really get that over. And that is exactly what Brad Pitt was able to do in Ad Astra. You had your moments of action, you had your moments of, even a couple of moments of comedy, but when he really starts playing up the isolationism and starting to like psychologically really take its toll on a person. And like you said, so many people forget Brad Pitt is a damn good actor. And because, like you said, with the Tom Cruise thing, you hear the name and you think, okay, well, it's Brad Pitt, moving on. But you can't do that because he's showing in performances like he had in Ad Astra, and to a lesser extent Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, because like you say, basically the best part of that movie is watching him and Leo play off each other and yuck it up. But you can't sleep on... You see Brad Pitt's name on a marquee, and it's not just, well, Brad Pitt's in the movie to sell movie tickets. It's like, no, Brad Pitt's in the movie because he's going to give a heck of a performance virtually every time he's out there. So Brad Pitt's my number 3.
Yeah, so we're opposite in the sense that I think Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is actually worthy over Ad Astra. However, I would also say that even if he didn't do Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, he still would have been on my list for Ad Astra because the performance was that good. Mm-hmm. I think I just happen to enjoy maybe seeing the charming Brad Pitt more. I think it's a personal preference.
Yeah.
Because, I think back to, Fight Club. It's still one of my favorite movies, and that, charming as shit Brad Pitt performance. I love seeing Brad Pitt in those, even in Inglourious Bastards and stuff. Dude's just... I like seeing that Brad Pitt more than I like seeing the more... I'll say serious Brad Pitt, but I love both.
Yeah.
Obviously, the only reason, I forgot that I had Ad Astra written down. I was like, oh yeah, I forgot Ad Astra.
Oh yeah, he's in that.
Brad Pitt is amazing. So my number 3 is Joaquin Phoenix in Joker.
Ooh, okay.
I said this to you after we watched it. I think it's a really great performance by a really great actor, but I don't think that it's legendary tier. Right? I'm going to use the obvious boring comparison with Heath Ledger and his Joker because it's simple and I'm a simple guy. But to me, Ledger's performance is legendary. Mm-hmm. It stands among the greatest performances. I don't know where, but it's in there somewhere.
Yep. This
is the tier down for me. A great performance, deserving. Didn't he win? Did he win?
Yes, he did.
Yeah, it's deserving. It's my 3rd favorite performance of the year. It's totally deserving.
Yeah.
And, like I said, it's a really great performance by a really great actor. Not surprised that he pulled it off. I enjoyed it. I loved his choice for his laugh because there was such a disconnect from everything. And it fit the theme and it fit the fact that he burst out into laughing fits uncontrollably and stuff. It was because it was such an awkward laugh and stuff. It was really good. Yeah, I really love that performance. Maybe not as much as some people do, but it's top 3. It's a great performance. I'm just not willing to put it up there with even Ledger's Joker.
And that's I think that's fair because I think you're comparing it to Valhalla, which I know for the Nordics. I know I'm pronouncing that wrong, but I think certainly in comparison to Ledger, it's not Ledger. But there will be a number of people who would hear that and be like, Joaquin was the 3rd best performance of 2019, and be like, what are you talking about? So that's interesting. I'm very much looking forward to what number 2 and number 1 are for you. My number 2 best actor of 2019 is 100% a body of work play. It's not for a single performance, because I don't think there was a single outstanding performance amongst them. It's James McAvoy. And I love James McAvoy anyway, but it was on body of work this year because we're looking at X-Men Dark Phoenix, which we can say whatever we want to say about that movie, but God bless him, James McAvoy is trying as Professor X.
He's not the problem.
He is definitely not the problem. He is definitely trying. But we're also looking at Glass.
Yes.
Where obviously, I really enjoyed that movie, and I just enjoyed that whole Split and Glass thing becoming oh my God, this is a trilogy with just unreal. That reveal is still one of my favorite movie moments of the last 5 years. Just being oh my God, this is a sequel. Oh my Lord. So there was that. He was tremendous in that, and then of course he was also in It Chapter 2. And I thought he was really excellent. Nice. One of the standout performances in It Chapter 2 as well, which again, as a movie itself, probably not the greatest thing since sliced bread. As a companion to the first one, I enjoyed it a lot more in that context. But on body of work this year, and I think he was also in obviously we don't count this, but I think he's in a Netflix series as well. He might be in the dark, oh gosh, I can't remember what it was called now, but he's in a Netflix series that he's apparently really good in as well. But on body of work in 2019, I had to give it to James McAvoy for 3 what I would consider pretty darn good performances.
I like this pick because I didn't consider him. Mm-hmm. And you're right. And it's weird that I didn't consider him because in Split, I ended up putting him on my top 3 that year. Right. I might have had another movie too, I can't remember. But I know Split, I was really impressed with him. and he might have been the actor of the year for me that year, but I didn't consider him this year, even though he played the same character. Mind you, he wasn't in the movie as much.
Yeah, they didn't...
Because they had to share duties, but still an awesome performance. And then if you factor in body of work, then, yeah, I could see that. Good pick. I never considered that.
I like it. I like when we have moments like that where one of us says something that the other one's just like, I didn't even consider that. I genuinely enjoy those moments.
Me too. That's what I live for.
Yeah.
Like drugs.
That's why we do this. It's like this.
Yeah. My number 2 is Matthew McConaughey in The Beach Bum. Because I know it's just him going back to his roots. And maybe it's not the most demanding performance, especially when you consider that Matthew McConaughey became a pretty serious actor over the last bunch of years.
It's true.
But my God, it's fun watching him go back to his roots.
It's true.
That guy just stumbling around, not sober at any point in the entire movie. Some people are just meant to play certain things. Ryan Reynolds with Deadpool, Matthew McConaughey as a stoner.
Yeah.
And there's not even that much more to say. It's just fun. And, every year I pretty much give an award for somebody who just embodies fun. Like the aforementioned Reynolds. Like, I gave him a nod for Deadpool because even though it's not the most demanding performance in the world, or Gal Gadot in Wonder Woman.
Right.
Like, she's not necessarily an amazing actress, but she embodied Wonder Woman, and that's how I feel about Matthew McConaughey in The Beach Bum. It's just so much fun watching him do pretty much nothing.
Right.
Do nothing the whole movie, but
just
it's so entertaining.
Exist.
Yeah. So Matthew McConaughey. He was my number 1 for a long time this year.
Okay.
But he ended up losing it. If he might have had like a second movie that I saw where he was really good, he might have been able to claim number 1. But my number 1 is very good.
Fair enough. And I will say this, and you kind of pointed it out, like from seeing over the last few years Matthew McConaughey become like legit one of the best actors in Hollywood, I think. Yeah. It is kind of refreshing to see him then double back and kind of mine old territory, but to do it in a sort of with fresh sets of eyes, because now we haven't seen him mine that territory for a while. So now when he comes back to it, it's like, oh yeah, he's a really good stoner, right? So it's like it is definitely it's what's old is new again kind of thing, right? So yeah, no, that's a legit pick. I like it. My number 1 best actor of 2019 probably shouldn't come as any surprise. It is Joaquin Phoenix for Joker. And obviously the case only would have been strengthened if he would have done something else this year, but we established that he hasn't done anything else this year. But especially then, even if you wanted to look at like body of work over the last couple of years, like he's been in some really good stuff over the last few years to kind of rebuild the Joaquin Phoenix brand. But Joker, to me, especially like the first time I saw it, because the first time I saw it was in a slightly more intimate theater, it was captivating. There's not, and it was with a very, very, very small audience. Yes. It was the middle of the afternoon, so it was only maybe 7 or 8 people in a decent sized theater. So it felt like almost a private showing, and I was able to so immerse myself in that performance, and then watching it a second time to then kind of really pay close attention to his idiosyncrasies and certain things, certain ways he would turn phrases, and the way the laugh, like you mentioned, the way the laugh develops over the course of the movie, and just the moments where it's like you can tell, like when he's laughing involuntarily, how much pain he's trying to show, that like he's trying to convey that this hurts, right? And eventually that he just kind of mentally blocks out that pain, and it's nothing but pure joy. It's just, it felt like such a complete immersive performance to me this year. I personally didn't see anything better. So Joaquin's my number 1. It's a bit of a boring pick. It's what a lot of people are going to pick, but that's what it is.
Very deserving of it.
Yeah.
I don't really have anything else to add to that, so let's just move on.
All right.
My number 1 you're going to love, because it's your boyfriend, Adam Driver.
Yes!
Yeah!
I love you, Adam.
I don't know if we said this on camera or not, but I said we'd talk about him some more. So here we are talking about him some more. He was in Marriage Story. He was in The Report. He was in Rise of Skywalker. More on that in a sec. and he was in The Dead Don't Die. Wasn't real. He was good in Dead Don't Die. That wasn't a great movie, but he was fine. I would never give him the award for Dead Don't Die or Rise of the Skywalker, but because he was still entertaining in both of those. But let me get the bad out of the way, just because I said something about Adam Driver. I don't love his face as Kylo Ren.
Right.
That's my only issue. But I don't blame my dislike for the character, or maybe not dislike, but I don't love Kylo Ren. I don't blame it on his performance, because his performance is great. I just don't buy his face as Kylo Ren. And that's partly on me, because the first time I saw him, he was a wanker in Girls. Which isn't a bad show, but he was a wanker, so I kind of associate him with wanker to a bit. But it's not his fault, because he's a good performer. The Report, a good enough performance that I would have considered him for this, maybe as an honorable mention. But it was a really good performance in The Report. But Marriage Story, career best. The dude just crushed it all year. Like, he would have won Best Performance or Best Actor just on Marriage Story alone.
Yeah.
It helped that he also had 3 movies that he was great, and good. So body work and individual performance. The man was like born to play the role that he did in Marriage Story, because he got to be kind of that just a married guy who's emotional over what's going on. And he does sad and emotional and stuff really well. And there's like a scene where he ends up punching a wall. That was a really powerful scene. There was all these scenes, and the way he played off Scarlett Johansson. Obviously, he's a name now, but I was talking to someone else, and I was saying that I think Adam Driver, if he stays in this path, could really go on to be like an amazing actor that people really see as an amazing actor. Maybe he's at that point. I don't know. I don't see people being, saying, "Oh, Adam Driver's so great," but he'll get there if he hasn't already. If he keeps pumping out stuff like Marriage Story.
I mean, I say Adam Driver's great. But
yes.
You never take what I say with credibility, nor should you.
That's the thing. I like Adam Driver, and I have. This came right at the end of the year.
Yes.
Because, I saw Rise of Skywalker. That was at the end of the year. I saw Dead Don't Die earlier in the year. But literally I watched Marriage Story and then The Report a few days ago. Because I thought, geez, I need more actors. And I've heard that he's so good in Marriage Story. Let's do this. I'm like, I might as well watch The Report too while I'm at. Get some, double feature Adam Driver.
Yeah.
And he was so good.
Oh, fantastic.
And you should have seen these movies. I was wondering if Adam Driver would be on yours.
Yeah.
Because I knew you would love to put him on it. But I put him on it for you.
Excellent.
As number 1.
I knew you had my back.
I had your back.
There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Those are our favorite actors, best actors of 2019. Adam Driver and Joaquin Phoenix take the number 1 spots. Who will take our number 1 spots for best actress of 2019? You're going to have to find out on the next video, and we'll see you there.